I was in a conversation with someone recently, and I was expressing to them that we really need to, speaking of trustworthy AI in law and society, on the society perspective, we really want to think about counting up the total cost. So yeah, it's cheaper, and supposedly it is more energy efficient. I'm not so sure. But what about our data? What about our information, right? So look at the total cost. Look at the cost. Everything that is supposedly cheap really isn't, you know? That's why programs like this are so valuable. That's why I'm so happy to be here. We are at the last part of the podcast where I typically ask the question, share with the listeners words of wisdom or your call to action. So we're going to start with you, Hal. Please let us know your perspectives there.
Yeah, that's a hard question, but I'll give it a go. So I'll come at this from my perspective, which is that of a technologist and engineer. And the thing that I say a lot that I'll say in this context is I would really like work on the technology side of AI to think a lot more about what's often called like AI for augmentation rather than AI for replacement. So the field of AI, going back to the 50s, is really a study of automation. And it was originally like, the Turing test is basically like, can I pretend to be a human? Then it's like, can I play checkers? Can I play chess, right? And all of these things are basically like, can I take this thing that's like, we used to care about things that were hard for people to do. Now, actually, we care mostly about things that are easy for people to do. But it's really about this, like, can I just take the human out of the picture entirely? And I think that's both kind of a boring perspective. Like, I don't know, I don't find it particularly intellectually engaging. But I think also it's where a lot of like challenges come from. So, you see things like, oh, with this technology, I get improvements in like employee efficiency by 20%, right? And it's like, okay, that's great if I own a company and I'm trying to, like maximize my profits or whatever. But, I'm in academia for a reason. That is not my goal, right? And so I think that, it's much more interesting to think about like, how do I improve the lives and the work of people who use these technologies. So, how do I develop AI techniques that really help people do the things that they want to do rather than like get rid of the people in the loop entirely? And I think intellectually, that's actually a much harder question. And among other reasons, one of the reasons is because we generally have data for replacing people, right? Like I just track what you do and then I train a system to replicate it. But if I want to build a system that like helps you do whatever it is that you're doing, I can't just like look at your output and try to repeat that. I have to like actually understand like, okay, what is your workflow? Like, how are you using different pieces of technology and so on? So, I think what I would encourage students who are, maybe on the more technical side of things to think about is, how do we build technology that helps people do what they want to do rather than doing it for them?